What would Charlie do with his heart so pure? He spread peace and love on that we all show. No violence, no hate. He listened to other points of view, and he do all as God says. Welcome to What Would Charlie Do? The podcast where we wrestle with life's biggest mysteries, seeking wisdom, wonder, and a touch of inspiration. I'm your host, Eric Chance Stone, and today we're diving deep into a topic that has captivated hearts and minds across time: miracles. What are they? Are they real? And what do they reveal about the universe? Or perhaps something beyond it? Get ready for a journey that's a bit longer than usual, as we explore 4 famous events, often called miracles, and toward the end, a personal story from my own life that still gives me the chills. This episode is full of minutes of awe. Miracles are moments that seem to defy the laws of nature, where the impossible becomes reality. You've got folks like Tucker Carlson, the outspoken commentator, who's argued these events point to the supernatural. In a recent conversation with author Lee Strobel, Tucker insisted the supernatural was real, citing phenomena like possessions, visions, and inexplicable events that science can't fully explain. He believes these occurrences are evidence of forces beyond the physical world, urging us to look past materialism. It's a bold take, and it sets a stage for what we're exploring today, events that make us question what we think we know. Let's start with our first miracle, the miracle of the sun at Fatima, Portugal in 1917. On October 13th, coincidentally, today's date, the date I'm recording this podcast, a crowd of about 70,000 gathered in a rain-soaked field. 3 shepherd children had claimed the Virgin Mary appeared to them, promising a divine sign. What happened next stunned everyone. The rain stopped, the clouds parted, and the witnesses reported the sun dancing in the sky, spinning in like a fiery wheel, changing colors and even zigzagging as it might crash to earth before returning to normal. This wasn't just believers. Skeptics, journalists, and atheists were there, many of whom became believers on the spot. Secular newspapers reported it globally. Astronomers found no evidence of cosmic event, suggesting it was localized to Fatima. For Catholics, it's a divine miracle, a heavenly affirmation during the despair of World War I. Critics argue mass hysteria, but the sheer scale of witnesses and the consistent accounts make that hard to swallow. This event invites us to wonder, was this a glimpse of something beyond our understanding?
An estimated 70,000 people witnessed the miracle of the sun in 1917. Luckily, because of technology, we still have the accounts of doctors, newspapers, and general lay people who witnessed the miracle with their own eyes. Maria de Kupina, one of the earliest believers, she said,
"The sun turned everything to different colors, yellow, blue, and white. Then it shook and trembled. It looked like a wheel of fire that was going to fall on the people. They began to cry out, 'We shall all be killed.' Others called to Our Lady to save them. They recited acts of contrition. One woman began to confess her sins aloud, advertising that she had done this and that. When at last the sun stopped leaping and moving, we all breathed our relief. We were still alive, and the miracle which the children had foretold had been seen by everyone."
Father Ignacio Lorenzo, who was about 11 miles away, said,
"I was only 9 years old at this time, and I went to the local village school. At about midday, we were surprised by the shouts and cries of some men and women. Outside, the people were shouting and weeping and pointing to the sun, ignoring the agitated questions of the schoolmistress. It was the great miracle, which one could see quite distinctly from the top of the hill where my village was situated. I feel incapable of describing what I saw and felt. I looked fixedly at the sun, which seemed pale and did not hurt the eyes, looking like a ball of snow revolving on itself. It suddenly seemed to come down in a zigzag, menacing the earth. Terrified, I ran and hid myself among the people who were weeping and expecting the end of the world at any moment. Near us was an unbeliever who had spent the morning mocking at the simpletons who had gone off to Fatima just to see an ordinary girl. He now seemed to be paralyzed, his eyes fixed on the sun. Afterwards, he trembled from head to foot and lifting up his arms fell on his knees in the mud. Crying out to Our Lady during those long moments of the solar prodigy, objects around us turned all the colors of the rainbow. We saw ourselves blue, yellow, red, etc. After about 10 minutes, the sun, now dull and pallid, returned to its place. When the people realized that the danger was over, there was an explosion of joy, and everyone joined in thanksgiving and praise to Our Lady.
Next, let's look at the healings of Lourdes, France. In 1858, a 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Soubries saw visions of the Virgin Mary at a grotto where a spring emerged. Since then, millions have visited, believing the water to be healing powers. The Catholic Church has documented over 70 cases of miraculous healings, no medical explanation. Take, for example, a 1962 case where a woman with terminal cancer, riddled with tumors, bathed in the spring. Days later, her tumors were gone, and the doctors, after rigorous tests, found no trace of the disease. The process to verify these miracles is intense. Medical panels, non-Catholic experts, and years of scrutiny. Critics point to the placebo effect, but the precision and permanence of these cures challenges those explanations. The numbers are staggering too. Thousands claim healing. Even if only a fraction are officially recognized, it's as if something extraordinary intervenes, bending the rules of biology in ways we can't fully grasp.
With a grueling pandemic and gruesome political season, you'd be forgiven for giving up on the idea of miracles. But tonight, we will take you to a place that's known for them. The sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes in southern France is the site of 70 medical miracles recognized by the Catholic Church. The Marian Shrine is famous to the faithful, but less well known is the Lourdes Office of Medical Observations. That's where world-renowned doctors and researchers conduct decade-long investigations into the countless claims of cures reported over the years. They determine which cases can be medically explained and which cannot. It's those church officials might call a miracle. For the doctors, it's a lesson in the limits of medicine. For the devout, it's divine intervention. The small French town of Lourdes, tucked in the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains, draws more than 3 million pilgrims every year, more than travel to Mecca or Jerusalem. And almost everyone you meet will tell you they've heard stories of miracles here. But we heard none more inspiring than that of Sister Bernadette Mouriot.
I really tried everything I could, but this is something that cannot be healed.
What was your prognosis?
Full, total paralysis. The prognosis was really dark.
Strolling with 83-year-old Sister Mouriot through the chapel grounds in Brel, France, we found it hard to believe that for half her life she suffered from cauda equina, a disorder of the nerves and lower spine. You wore this all the time? Her left foot, she said, was twisted and limp. To walk at all, she needed this back and leg brace, an implant to dull nerve pain, and massive doses of morphine. She told us she had exhausted all treatment options, so in 2008, her doctor convinced her to make a pilgrimage to Lourdes. Did you believe in miracles at the time?
I always believed in miracles, but not for me.
So why did you decide to go?
Well, I didn't go there for a miracle, I just went there to pray with others. Lourdes is a place where the smallest people, or the sickest, or the poorest, they come first.
When word got out the Immaculate Conception, the Virgin Mary, had appeared in Lourdes, people flocked to this grotto, and within days started making claims of miracle cures, the ability to walk, restored sight. Worried about fueling mass hysteria, the Church set up the Office of Medical Observations in 1883 to investigate the claims. Which brings us back to the other Bernadette in our story. 14 years ago, Sister Morio found herself in a wheelchair in a procession at Lourdes seeking the intervention of Saint Bernadette.
And I really had that feeling that the Lord was walking with us. And I heard him giving me these words, I see your suffering and that of your sick brothers and sisters. Just give me everything.
You heard the voice of Jesus.
Yes, I heard this inner voice. I can't really tell you whose voice it was. It was like a spiritual experience.
She said she returned home rejuvenated spiritually, but physically she felt worse. After 3 days in excruciating pain, she told us she suddenly found the strength to walk to the chapel and pray.
Then I felt some kind of heat coming into my body. I felt relaxed, but I didn't really know what that was meaning. And in my room, I heard this inner voice again telling me, take all your braces off. I didn't think twice, and I started taking my foot brace off. And my foot, that used to be crooked, was straight, and I could actually put it on the ground without feeling any pain.
All of a sudden, your foot was straight.
Yes, like that, like the way it is just now. And so I kept going.
She says she took off the braces and stopped the morphine all at once. Did this make sense to you?
No, I knew it was impossible.
Our third miracle takes us to Lanciano, Italy. Around the 8th century, for the Eucharistic miracle, a monk struggling with doubt was saying Mass when bread and wine transformed literally into flesh and blood before his eyes. These relics still exist, preserved in a church. In the 1970s, scientists unaware of the sample's origin tested them. The results? The flesh was human heart tissue. The blood was type AB, and both appeared fresh, as if just taken, despite being centuries old. No preservatives, no decay, no explanation. The World Health Organization backed the findings in 1973. For Catholics, this is proof of Christ's presence in the Eucharist, a miracle that transcends time. Skeptics might cry fraud, but the scientific rigor and historical continuity make this unlikely. The event feels like a direct challenge to the purely material world, suggesting a reality where spiritual can manifest physically.
The miracle occurred in the first half of the 8th century, where a priest who remained anonymous and who was never given a conventional baptism had doubts about transubstantiation.
Eucharistic miracles, according to the Catholic Church, speak profoundly about the nature of faith, the significance of the sacraments, and the power of divine intervention.
The host became a part of the left ventricle, which is the part of the human body that is essential for the heart's function. And this part of the myocardial tissue was aching and bleeding. The blood then clotted, while the wine turned into human blood and within a few moments changed from a liquid to a solid state.
For the faithful, these miracles are a call to deepen their faith. They're seen as signs from God, meant to strengthen belief in the mysteries of the Christian faith that are beyond human understanding. These events encourage a more profound reverence for the sacraments and inspire a more fervent participation in communal worship and prayer. What do Eucharistic miracles say to us? Eucharistic miracles are seen as profound expressions of God's ongoing engagement with and love for the world, offering both a mystery to ponder and a catalyst for deeper spiritual commitment.
The preservation itself is a miracle. In fact, it has even been studied and investigated through the works of Professor Edoardo Linoli. If we put water on the host transformed into human flesh, which is precisely laser cut, we see that it starts to redden because it is dehydrated flesh. There is no chemical powder used for preservation.
Since the 8th century, the Italian town of Lanciano has borne witness to the real presence in the Eucharist. We should never forget that each time we attend Mass, we witness a miracle.
Now, for a modern example, the miracle on the Hudson. January 15th, 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549, piloted by Captain Chessie Sully Sullenberger, hit a flock of birds shortly after leaving New York's LaGuardia Airport, losing both engines. With no runway in reach, Sully made a split-second decision to land on the Hudson River, a maneuver deemed nearly impossible without catastrophic loss. Yet, he glided that Airbus A320 onto icy water, keeping it intact. All 155 passengers and crew survived, rescued within minutes by nearby boats. Later flight simulators show that even a slight miscalculation would have led to disaster. Sully credited his training, and many passengers and onlookers called it divine intervention. The odds were astronomical. Engine failure at that altitude, a perfect landing, and every soul survived. It's the kind of story that makes you wonder if some unseen hand was guiding that plane to safety.
January 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 departs New York's LaGuardia Airport. There are 150 passengers on board, bound for Charlotte, North Carolina.
The aircraft took off uneventfully, and very shortly after takeoff, they lost all engines as a result of birds.
I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and slightly to our right, but still ahead of us, was a line of birds. And they were very, very close, too close for us to maneuver around.
Whoa! After quickly assessing the situation, Captain Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeffrey Skiles realized that without engine power, they're not going to make it to any nearby airport.
We're going to be in the Hudson. Brace for impact.
You need to be aware of your brace position. In many, many accidents, the cabin crew are trying desperately to get the passengers into the brace position, but because the passengers haven't read the safety features card, they don't know what that means.
Get your heads down and stay down!
Proper brace position is knees together, feet flat on the floor, body bent as far forward as possible, with arms wrapped under the legs or braced against the seat in front of you.
Your body's going to be thrown forward. So if you can get yourself into that position beforehand, the amount of movement back and forth is going to be reduced and the level of injury will be less.
In the cabin, the passengers prepare for the inevitable.
All the passengers really started kind of pulling together, and somebody yelled out as we were going down,
"Be ready at the doors!"
The folks at the door says, "We're ready."
Clay Presley does what all passengers should. He stays calm and tries to think ahead.
So I started thinking about, if we're going to crash, I know I need to figure out where the exit rows are. If the water comes in, you need to be able to hold your breath long enough to get to those 4 or 5 rows and get the doors open if you can.
But before anyone can escape, they must first survive a high-speed impact.
Looked like the airplane was going right for the bottom of the Hudson River. Then the airplane popped up, and it was just sort of gently rocking in the waves.
In an instant, the $75 million plane has become an unlikely boat floating down the Hudson River. It's now filling with freezing water.
That water was cold. It was very cold, so your feet are freezing.
If you land in the Hudson in the middle of the winter, the water is going to be very cold and you're going to suffer from hypothermia very quickly. Their feet and their hands will get numb. They're going to be useless.
Passengers nearest the exits open the doors.
I just jumped up very quickly and started making my way to the emergency door. And so I worked my way out onto the wing, just a few steps to start with.
Fortunately, they had slide rafts rather than just slides. So what they were able to do was evacuate passengers into the slide rafts.
In the end, all 150 passengers and the entire crew of Flight 1549 are brought to safety.
Before we wrap up, I want to share something personal, a miracle from my own life that still feels like a gift from the universe. 20 plus years ago, someone very dear to me slipped out of my life. Circumstances and egos pulled us apart, and I thought I'd lost them forever. I carried that ache for decades, praying for a reunion but never expecting it. Then a few days ago, we reconnected out of nowhere after I prayed about it and asked for a miracle. Some of you that are on my Facebook page remember me asking for that miracle. It happened shortly after that. Thank you for the prayers. It wasn't just a chance. It felt orchestrated, like the universe and God aligned perfectly to bring us back together. Our bond picked up quickly as if no time had passed, and communication felt comfortable. The odds of that reconnection after so many years and so much distance feels miraculous to me. I am hopeful to build on the new reconnection and make up for lost time. It's not a dancing sun or healed body, but it's my proof that sometimes life defies logic in the most beautiful way. So what ties these stories together? Fatima, Lords of Lanciano, the Hudson, and even my own experience? There are moments where the impossible breaks through, where the veil between ordinary and extraordinary thins. They challenge us to look beyond the measurable, to consider that maybe the world is more mysterious than we dare to believe. Miracles, whether divine or cosmic, remind us to stay open to wonder, to hope, to the possibility that there's more at play than we can see. What would Charlie do? Charlie would tell us to keep our eyes peeled for the extraordinary in the everyday, to cherish those moments when life feels bigger than logic. Thanks for joining me on this extended episode of What Would Charlie Do? If you've got a miracle, story, or something to share, big or small, please drop it in the comments or share it with us on social media. Until next time, keep wondering, keep believing, keep seeking in the magic of life. Thank you. God bless.
What would Charlie do with his heart so pure? He spread peace and love on that we are sure. No violence, no hate. He listened to other points of view, and he do all